going up quite a bit. Home rule fund, SRO officers, that has not been budgeted. We're going to start budgeting that, and that gives your total budget there. So as the mayor said, these are the numbers that are provided to the state. We can change anything within the budgets. These are the numbers that basically stay the same. Go through your packet. We'll start on each department, and if any department heads want to start. Yes, sir.
What's not on there is the fire department. That's was 233,000. No, is that right, Jim?
Fire pension was 389.
Where that comes off.
Yes, yeah, I skipped over that one, yeah. So that one falls off. So as with the IFD and local agreement, the pensioners will go over to IFD and be part of their budget.
So we're not funding any of their pension from moving
Correct.
forward?
Correct. So we'll start with the mayor's office here. As we've talked about, and the mayor will get in later with the salary ordinance, looking at a 3% increase citywide for full-time employees, part-time employees, elected officials are not included. So the mayor's office here, we see a little bit of an increase in the regular salary for the mayor's assistant. That's 3% there. Longevity goes up on because of the pension base for the police department going up. So does the longevity for every employee, full-time employee in the city. So that goes up. And then because of the increased salaries, FICA and Medicare, some of them have to go up depending on how they're budgeted. A few of them were over budgeted this year, so you see Medicare does not change, but the FICA will go up a little bit based on the increased salary.
Are you still on the mayor's?
Yes, sir. So total for the mayor's budget, we're looking at a proposed budget of $97,475, which is an increase of $2,509. Again, that's basically just the salary increases there for the mayor's assistant and her longevity. Next is the clerk treasurer's office. Here, just a few changes here, just rounded off some numbers here. The regular salaries, that's budgeted at $59,000. I think it was over budgeted. I just rounded that down to $59,000. Professional services, increased that up $3,000. That kind of pays the financial advisors, Jeff Peters, a few professional services, AIM, services that come out of my office and the city hall budget down there. Postage citywide. Last year we took the postage from each department individually and put it into one line item. That was over budgeted, I think, so I think $3,000 is sufficient for the city. Copier lease, again, that was over budgeted based on what we paid this year per month for the copier in my office, so that's going down. And then clerk treasurer longevity for my deputy clerk, that is going up based on the longevity going up for the city. So you're looking at an increase of $1,723 for the clerk treasurer's office for a total budget of $137,995. Next is the city council budget. Not much of this is really ever touched. It's kind of stayed the same for years. The salaries for the city council is not changing, so that stayed the same. FICA tax, Medicare, attorney fees, and professional and contractual services. Those are rarely touched, but so I just left them the same for this year. So no budget change there. Budget for next year is estimated to be $51,320.
Can you recall the last time the city council attorney fees have been used? Does anybody know?
I don't, the clerk treasurer has.
Has been used as far as?
City county attorney fees, have they ever been used? City county council?
I think possibly in the past, if they've had to use, if the citywide attorney might have been that appropriation been used, it might have, spilled over to that one, but I'm not sure when.
Well, I'm sure they probably. I was just curious if we recall anything.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
Because we also have the city council underneath it. I don't know if that's for some professional services or what. Does anybody know exactly how's that different than the attorney fees itself? Or?
No, I mean, it's basically just a line item that's been there for years, so I'm not sure when that started.
The council may want to look into something and hire someone for professional service. You didn't do it this year or last year, but that doesn't mean you won't do it next year. So
Actually, you know what? In 2014, the council did retain a firm to do an investigation, because I had a conflict.
So yeah,
So
so
you just don't
it's
know.
it's very minor in the overall
yeah.
budget. That's why I kind of just left it the same, just in case it's something that you guys might see fit as a council.
I understand its purpose, it's just I was
Yeah.
kind of looking at rolling the dice on it, or whatever. Just curious for the moment. Thank you.
Yeah, it always worries me to take away a line item, because then you either got to find a place for it where it might not fit, or you weren't ready for it, or it might actually come in handy. So
Yeah. We can always use the mayor's.
there you go.
Yeah, okay.
There's not much there. There's not much there. That's been dwindled down.
Budget in the city.
I think that's why they helped out on stamps, wasn't it, one time or something? Yeah, okay.
Up next is the city court. So that's a pretty bare bones budget there as well. I reached out to the judge, and he was happy. I know last year we made quite a few changes, some at the end as well, kind of after the fact for some salaries and stuff in his office. So the only thing going up there is basically the regular salaries for his employees. His salary is not going up since he's an elected official, but the regular salaries is going up 3%. Longevity going up based off of that, and then part-time salary is going up to 3% as well. Medicare was pretty largely over budgeted, I think, so I just took $200 off of there, and that gives you a total difference of $2,560 increase in his budget for a total of $142,063. Again, pretty bare bones there. He changed a lot of that last year, coming into this year. Took a lot of those expenses and line items down to basically nothing, $25 or $100. So up next is Board of Public Works. Salaries stayed the same. We have some changes. Contractual services, again, that went up $4,000. That can vary for services for the Board of Works, payroll, telephone and cable. That went up $14,000 up to $56,000. Process of going over to fiber in the city, so that's going to have some increased costs next year once we get all that fiber in place. That's just kind of accounting for that. It'll be a better service and communications citywide, but a more expensive product. Citywide liability. I reached out to NFP. My guess is that'll go down. I'm just not sure how much yet. That's kind of, we get our estimate for next year basically after budget time. So I didn't touch that. I'm not sure how much it'll go down with the fire department agreement, those employees in the station. So it'll go down some. I'm just not sure how much. So to be safe, I just kept it the same. Boardworks professional services. Again, that can be a multitude of things. That went up $5,500. Retiree insurance and HSA, based off the retirees, the fire retirees going away, and the HSA, took that down about $30,000 based off of those employees and their HSA contributions. Some of these are kind of one of the things of the fire agreement coming into place is that we're not quite sure how exactly these are going to settle out. I know some of these appropriations might be over budgeted for 22. Until these services and these appropriations are gone, we're not exactly sure how much it's going to charge us. So whether that be the 457 match, the liability insurance, some phones, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that will change. But again, we won't know exactly how much until it actually happens. So I think we'll see some more changes coming into 23 once we actually get into 22 to see.
Hey Jim, what was the Google?
Google, so that is the licenses for all the email accounts for the city. Before last year, that was divided up into each department. So when we got the bills each year, we'd have to go through and count each department and appropriate each expense for each department. To minimize that, last year I put it all under this one budget line item. Took it out of the departments, that way it's just easier to budget and pay the claims.
Thank you.
457 match, that is going down, and again, this is an estimate based on the employees that currently had a 457 match for last year. We do match employees, we match up to 50% of the first $600. So if an employee invests $600 in their 457 account, we will match that up to $300 at the end of the year. So that's a decrease there based on the estimates for the fire department. Perf, I estimate that's going to go up a little bit just based on the increased salaries. Citywide health, medical insurance, that's going down, and it's a substantial amount there. We no longer have the expenses of the firefighters who are on the citywide medical insurance, so that is going down. Dental insurance also going down. Again, these are estimates. I think they're a little high estimates based on what we're budgeting for, but again, until we actually see what the charges are and what the expenses are for next year, that might change again for 23. Life insurance it will as well. So this whole department, we're looking at a proposed budget of $1,511,074. That is a decrease of $295,000.
I'm gonna go back again to the
Yes, sir.
Medical insurance. And I think it's important that the public, especially the council, knows that the savings is twofold. One is a number of employees have dropped off of the plan due to the interlocal agreement. Plus, our health insurance premium has gone down
Correct.
almost 5%.
Yes. So we it will go down for next year.
Really good news.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so this year, it went down a little bit if you remember, but then we had a holiday for January, so no employees in the city did not have to make a insurance premium for the month of January this year. So I don't think we're gonna have that next year, but we are having a decrease, which is great. I know when the city first joined the trust, it was, we had some high increases there, but I think it's kind of leveled off and it's becoming pretty steady. I think it was good for the employees' budget and also for the city to budget as well. So the AIM has been a good group to work with and have been very beneficial to the city. So
Have you gotten any negative feedback as far as reimbursements and things, as far as employee satisfaction, as far as how?
I think they're happy.
those-
Yeah, I
Good,
think they're
good.
happy. Yeah, absolutely.
Good, all right.
They always want to see the premiums go down a little bit.
Sure, sure.
So any decrease, I think we'll be happy to see for the deductions in January. I think they'll be happy to see the deductions.
But as long as they
that'll-
get good coverage for
Correct.
what their family needs, and they're
Yeah.
using their insurance for
Yeah.
wellness exams and stuff.
And the HSA is good as well. We
Yeah.
do quarterly contributions for those on the high deductible plan with the HSA. So
Great,
they
great,
enjoy
yes.
getting the quarterly
Absolutely.
payments now instead of waiting till towards the end of the month to get all their HSA money. We do it quarterly this year, so that'll continue into 22 as well.
Good, thank you.
They've also agreed to bridge the gap because the interlocal agreement starts on December 25th. So for that 6-day period, the employees want to go through 2 orientations or 2 onboardings. AIM's going to let them stay on the plan until the 31st.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Which is great as well, because like I said, AIM's been great to work with, at least here, I mean, my short term in office, they've been great. We can call them with any questions, and they're very easy to work with, and they always have an answer. If not, they get back very quickly with us, but,
And our employees are satisfied with the physicians that they're seeing, because
I
there
think
might have
so.
been like a network issue at one time
Yeah.
or something, but they're good.
Yeah, I think they're good.
So
Yes,
they're working
ma'am.
with the local networks, health networks and stuff.
Yes.
Good.
Next is cable contractual services. Again, this is basically the budget for airing all these meetings on Facebook and putting them on the website and having them all videotaped for the city meetings. That stays the same at $10,000. Senior Center. Senior Center director pay will have an increase there, and then the regular salary is another increase. Education longevity benefit there for the Senior Center. That one was very high budgeted. I'm not sure. It's been budgeted at $5,500 for a few years at least, and based on the longevity of those 2 employees, it is budgeted way too high. So I think that's a correction there. I think it's still budgeted a little high, but that'll get it much closer to where it should be. And then on top of that, the senior director, Stephanie, she asked for a few increases. She has a very bare bones budget, and she's always been great at working with the little money that she's given in the budget, and she doesn't ask for much. So we did have a few increases here. $500 increase in building materials, $500 in repairs and maintenance, $500 in contractual services, $600 increase in program supplies. Janitorial just rounded up to $800 for a $28 increase. And because of the increased salaries, we had to increase the FICA and Medicare taxes. So overall, she has an increase of $15,163. for a total budget for the senior center, $108,558. So again, for all the work she does out there, that's a very, very bare bones budget there. But she works well with that, and she's able to, she's not being slowed down or being hampered at all by not having enough funds. So I think that's a good budget there. So
That's amazing.
When we get to talking about the salary ordinance, I'll address those
Yeah.
two salaries.
That's amazing that they can operate on that
She
budget
does.
for
She
what
does
they
good.
do. Yeah.
she does good, absolutely. Up next is the community center. Community center.
Jim, hang on a minute. Karen, you or Angel want to address it? Community center? Come on up.
So the mayor and I reached out to the Parks Board. They oversee the community center and the parks budget. Wanted to get them involved in the whole budget process. They haven't really been involved. I'm not sure. I know they weren't involved last year. I'm not sure about before, but wanted to get their input on it. They do oversee those two departments, so wanted to get their input, their opinions on the budget and where they see it, where they wanted to go, and where they could see any increases. So the mayor and I met with the board a couple months ago and kind of went over there. Met with Angel, Tom Hannon as well. So. Board President Tara, but yeah, we met with them and had some good discussions and to see where we can grow those two departments, and here we are. So I'll let you guys go from there.
Great. Good evening. My name is Tara Wolf. I am the Parks Board President this year. I know most of you, I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting you yet, but I live at 84 South 13th. And as the mayor and Jim said, they came to our board meeting in August, I believe, to kind of go over the numbers from last year and kind of what we wanted to see in 2022 and moving forward. I'll go over the part. I'm assuming you guys, do they have something like this,
Yes.
Jim? Okay, great. So this is what Jim put together for us after talking as a group and separately. For Tom, it's an overall about 3% increase. And if you've been through the parks, you know how well they are kept up, well, the community center as well, how well they are kept up and the services and programs that are provided. So there are just a few increases you will see on that. And as far as the community center, same thing we can talk about. There's a couple that look like a pretty big increase, but we can explain those as well as you guys would like to discuss. But these are numbers that we've went over and discussed and what we feel is needed to continue running the programs and keeping the parks as nice and clean as they are.
I'll go through those real quick while you're
Sure.
sitting there. So, council, as you see in front of you, so started a couple increases here. Program supplies going up $200. Janitorial going up $250 for a total of $4,000. Repairs and maintenance, being as these buildings are getting older, we see in it a request for more repairs and maintenance appropriations. That went up $2,000 to $5,000. Regular and part-time salaries, that went up 61%, $30,000 up to $79,050. Increased salaries requires more FICA and Medicare to be budgeted for. The coordinator salary went up to $49,380. Longevity goes up, and then the point of sale system. So the Angel got this system installed, it was last year, and working through that last year, this year we under budgeted somehow. I'm not sure where Angel and I got confused, but we under budgeted that. So we're just making a correction that we made this year. So that's going up to $6,000, which will cover that cost for the whole entire year. And then community center gasoline. There's one new and one used vehicle over there at the community center now. So just giving her that appropriation for fuel for those two vehicles, and deliveries and pickups and all that stuff that Angel and her staff do over there. So that just accounts for that expense there. So total, we're looking at an increase of $49,490. Total budget of $188,945. So, yeah, so that's based off of discussions that the mayor, Parks Board, Angel, and I have had. So.
I've got one question. I haven't been over there for a while. You guys taking debit cards now or no? I know we had talked about that.
Yeah, it's
Going,
been fun.
Good.
Yeah, no, we installed
Probably a
that
lot easier
system.
for you.
Yeah,
yes.
Probably not for Jim, but
yeah,
for you.
it's okay. That was part of the POS
He's
system that
tolerating me.
we installed last year, but it's getting much better.
Yeah.
It was a learning curve for everybody. But yeah, it's made bank rec fun, but it's okay. It's like I said, it makes it much easier for the customers and the citizens. And that's the most important part is that
Right.
they can come in and they can pay online. They don't have to come in if they don't want to. Kind of with the invoice cloud for the sewer as well. That just
Yeah.
made it so much easier for everybody else. So
I want Tara to talk to you about, there's some personnel changes over there. The reason why is they're much busier than they were in the past. They're doing a lot more. Plus, with what we're going through right now, they've had to change their mantra on what they do. So not only does the director deserve to have more pay, also there's an assistant now. And this is just to keep up. So Tara, can you touch base on that?
Sure. Angel might want to elaborate a little bit more, but there's a couple things that have grown tremendously over the last year and a half or so. And one of them are Angel services that she provides as far as meals. There's drive-through meals during when everything was shut down, so people could go through the parking lot and get a box of food. That is still happening in person now in the building, as well as weekly dinners. So her staff has provided thousands of meals to the community over the last year and a half, and that takes a lot of manpower. The cooking of the meals, first of all, loading all of those boxes. That's why she has another vehicle. That's a lot of extra work. And then also just the amount of children coming through the building after school every day, which is awesome to see all their smiling faces. But it's a lot of extra people. There's also a wait list right now for Buzz Club. So there's just a lot more work. Great work that's being done, but we need a little bit more. I think we should show our appreciation for the work that they're doing and the added work they've had over the last year and a half.
So, and I'll get into that with you, council, when we do the salary order.
You want to talk a little bit more about all the extra things that have been going on, or?
Should I do that?
Sure.
Would you like to know more?
Just a little.
Well, like she mentioned, during COVID, we started passing out food to the community through food boxes. We had given food before through Second Helpings, but that just COVID kind of made shut everything else down, but made that really busy. So we kind of thought that would die off a little bit as restrictions loosened, but did not. Actually, it's just, it's continuing to grow. So the vehicle is very helpful for that. And like she said, it does require more staff. We have several volunteers. We have staff members that come in to help. I also have an assistant in the office that I did not need before, but now she helps me to get the financial piece done. She helps manage the revenue that comes in and reporting to the clerk's office. We also have a couple of program people who help us just develop what we're doing and keep it relevant and keep it something that we can engage our community with more. So we just have a lot of things going on every single day in that building. We have 175 Buzz Club kids this year, where last year we had about 100. So that program itself almost doubled. So it's just a lot of cleaning, a lot of maintenance, a lot of stuff. So,
And you continue to work on grants as well, correct?
I will apply for grants
Yeah.
as often as I can. as well.
But that takes time, that's effort, that's a lot of extra work, but,
Sure.
and you've done that, you've been successful with that as well.
Yeah. Mhm. Sure.
So Buzz Club are the kids that come straight from the schools, right? So when school goes out, they make their way
Yes.
over to your place?
Yep, so
Every day,
right after
5
school,
days.
a bus, the school is a good partner of ours. They allow us to use the space at Hornet Park and our building. We actually use Hornet Park more often than, the kids come through our building, but they don't spend a lot of time in our building, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then the school provides transportation and meals for them as well. So after school every day, the kids they come through our building, they go to Hornet Park, and they are with a teacher, and all of them are college students, actually. Our aides are, so they all work
Good.
together to take care of those kids.
That's good for them. If the manufacturers of the vaccination start allowing the next level of vaccinations, do you think you might think about a vaccination clinic at that site at some point? Is that something you've thought
I
about?
mean, we've had vaccination clinics there before
That's what I
for the
thought.
flu shot and pneumonia shots, those sort of things. I don't see any reason why we
But when
wouldn't.
we start getting the vaccination out to that population, that age group of, it would be possible, I don't know, just something to,
I'm not sure. I know the schools have vaccination clinics right now.
okay, yeah, okay.
No one's approached me about it, so I'm not.
As long as somebody's, getting that set up. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's it for the community center.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
You guys mentioned Tom a minute ago. I think if you figure the hours Tom puts in, what's he make, about $5 an hour? or something like
I
that?
think he lives on that mower.
Yeah, there you go. Thank
Harry,
you.
you want to go into the parks real quick, or you want to come back up in a few minutes?
We'll call her back.
All right, call back up. Go. All right, next is City Hall. Not much change there. City Hall gas went up $500. Again, these are just basically rounding up these numbers a little bit. Some of this might change as well next year. I'm not quite sure how exactly. If you take that one station off, that'll change a little bit of some of these. If you remember this year, I took out, each department had a separate budget line item for water, sewer, gas, electric. Took that out and just combined them into one just to make it easier for paying the claims each month. So we're looking at a total budget of $314,540. Another thing that might change is, if you recall, this year we had the LED lights installed with IPL. So they're estimating our electric bill to go down a substantial amount. So we will see how that works next year. We still have another payment for that as well. I know the RDC has talked about, they paid a substantial amount of it this year, and I think they're planning on doing it again next year. So we will have another payment as well, and that'll come out of that City Hall electric bill appropriation there. So again, that might change, one of those things that might change over the next year. I know rates are also continuing to go up, but right now it basically stayed about the same there for that budget.
So on the repair and maintenance,
Uh-huh.
City Hall, if we increase that a little bit, might be able to take care of maybe around the windows and some of the higher areas of painting, or we just is that anything that's happening right now?
So not out of that appropriation, but we are looking at getting windows for this year. That is one thing that we're kind of hoping to be included on the ARPA funds. So yes, that kind of updating the bathrooms and stuff like that will be kind of some of those things that we're hoping to do. As mentioned before, instead of doing another bond in a couple years for some of that infrastructure stuff, with the ARPA money, you can use a revenue loss for the year and kind of pay for some of those things. That's kind of our goal.
Okay.
So we met with Klein Peter, our consultant, consultant, and then Bobby Ferguson as well last week with him about getting that plan going, and hope to see that as a council. We'll get the committee together and hopefully get it approved by the council in November or so, and that'll have some of those budget line items there to include some of the infrastructure throughout, not just City Hall, but throughout the city as well. So,
Okay.
Good question.
Jim, I want to skip police and EMS.
Yeah. Yes, sir. All right, so we're gonna go to parks. Parks budget here, we got the temporary salaries went up. If you recall, they had a lease budget line item for some trucks that fell off this year, and that was about $13,000. So instead of taking that line item out, I talked to Mr. Hannon and the Parks Board as well, and they're requesting moving that budget line item into the temporary salaries. So temporary salaries went up $13,040. Longevity went up again as a result of longevity for the city. Garage and motor went up $500. Uniforms $300. Repairs and maintenance went up $1,000. Equipment went up $2,000. Contractual services $2,000. The director's pay went up 3%, so that went up $2,100. Building and equipment $2,000 increase. Tools and equipment $500 increase. And then a couple new items there. So Mr. Hannon had asked about getting an appropriation for travel and training. There are a lot of parks training and events throughout the state that are made available to him. He hasn't really had a budget line item for that. But he asked for that to hopefully encourage him, allow him to go to some of these trainings just to see what's out there in the rest of the state, see what other park systems are doing, see what they're offering, see equipment that's available, playground and stuff that's available, and programs and stuff like that. So he looks at just so he can kind of include that in his budget next year and in the future. So $1,000 for that. And then another one for machinery and equipment, $19,000. So we that's going to go for a new what kind of vehicle is like a
It's a maintenance vehicle for the trail.
for the trail. Okay.
Okay.
So that's that budget item there that we added, $19,000, and that's we had a couple quotes on that one. That's about what that vehicle will cost. That'll allow them to have, or somebody to have a vehicle to kind of go up and down the trails each year or each day and look at them. So total increase of $44,394. Total budget for the parks $263,541. Tara, if you have anything to add to that. Again, these are suggestions by Tom, so not a big increase, but again, just a minimal increase on several of those appropriations that, as things continue to age, equipment and buildings and materials and all that, so it just helps them kind of fund those appropriations.
Yeah, and as anything is damaged or anything like that, it's repaired or replaced as well.
Yeah, that's it, dude. So I appreciate the Parks Board. Thank you for your help along the way. So I appreciate the input and the help that you guys provided. So thank you.
I'm
for
gonna
that.
skip out so I can make it home for bedtime with
Perfect.
the kids, but let me know if
Thank
you guys
you.
have any questions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks.
And he's okay with, he's adequate as far as staffing and the way,
Yeah,
the
so-
number of employees and he's
Yes,
all
helping
good?
with the temporary salary, part-time salaries.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he was very happy for that.
Good, good.
Yes, ma'am. Up next is 2012 bond. So there we have budgeted $236,498. And this just kind of fluctuated a few $100 here and there based off of the interest for that year. So this bond is coming up due in 2023. So 2 payments next year, and then we will have our last payment in 2023. And that payment will be for $121,380. So that bond from 2012 is almost gone. So that's a good deal there. So I'm excited to get closer to the end of that bond payment. Police, retiree insurance, and HSA, and then pension for retirees. That was budgeted well this year, and we don't see a need to increase that for 2022. So that budget remains the same at $533,000. LRNS, this is going up, increase a little bit based off the estimates from the state and our financial advisor. 2021, if you remember, we decreased that budget a little bit based on kind of the uncertainty of last year and what this year was going to bring. So that was decreased. So we're kind of getting that back up to the levels that we were at. So LRNS street and alley is going up $17,500. Contractual services going up $20,000. So total increase of $37,500 for a total budget of $556,000. DPW Director, Brad?
Good evening, council. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. A lot of times people ask what funds LRNS or MVH. It's mainly funded by fuel taxes. About 94% of LRNS are funded by various gasoline tax. I think there's some diesel tax mixed in there as well. Then there's some vehicle registration costs and other transportation-related fees kind of make up that fund. And so, as Jim mentioned, last year we were really concerned about projected revenues for 22. When COVID hit, obviously a lot of people stayed home and kids were home and people weren't driving as much, weren't filling their cars up. And so we were concerned that MVH and LRNS were going to take a big hit. So this is good news that the fund is actually going up. If you have any questions, happy to answer them, but this mainly pays for paving. A big chunk of the paving that we do, we usually reach out to the feds for a community crossings grant, which we've gotten every year since 2015, I believe. So we are applied for the second one this year, and we'll probably find out within the next couple weeks, hopefully. We applied a couple months ago, and that is a 50-50 matching grant, so usually we can take these funds and double them, which is good. And then we pay for salt out of this budget. I bid for this next season 800 tons of salt. I haven't got pricing yet, but last year it was about $95 a ton. That comes to about $76,000, and that's about right where the budget's at. So that usually works for us. You can't predict what's going to happen with the winter. If it's a mild winter, it's great. You can move some of that fund into gravel and other things that we buy for alleys. And then if it's bad, then I'm usually begging Jim for more money. So it's one of those things. And then there's some contractual services. We do snow removal out of there. We do landscaping. You know, we've done a lot of really nice projects in the city, but you have to maintain those. So we now have 2 roundabouts, Main Street, Emerson. And so a lot of areas where you have flowers, you have grass that needs mowed, and obviously the parks don't have enough staffing to do that, neither does my department, so we hire a lot of that out. And then there's times where I have to have tree removal, things like that, that are just beyond the scope of what we can do with our equipment. And so LRNS allows us to do a lot of that. So that's about it.
Great, thank you.
How many, and I think I know the answer, I'm just asking, how many employees do you have in Public Works?
Full-time, we have 14. 7 of those, well, that doesn't include myself, but 7 of those come out of MVH. The other 7 come out of the Sewage Works Fund. I come out of Sewage Works myself. So when we discuss MVH, it'll be about half the department. Full-time comes out of there. There are no salaries in LRNS. So this budget is all things we pay for, like I said, salt and paving, things like that. But there's no salaries or anything built into this budget. So it's really only 3 line items, so it's a pretty simple one.
Well, you do a good job with it. I believe in the 80s, there was as many as 23 or 24 employees.
Yeah.
And the city hasn't gotten smaller, and things haven't gotten less complicated, so a good job with what you have.
Thank you.
seriously.
Appreciate that.
All right, next is MVH.
Go again. Oh, go ahead. You want me to go?
I'll go through the lines real quick, and then
Yeah.
if you want to elaborate on anything else, you can. Regular salaries, 3%. Temporary salaries, 3%. Longevity goes up based off the city, so that went up $4,000. Uniforms going up a little bit, $500. MVH sidewalks. So this program came back a couple years ago. Last year we did 25. This year, for 22, we'd like to increase that to $50,000. So that's an increase of $25,000. So that pays for all the little sidewalks around the city, approaches, that type of stuff. That trying to pick away at the long list of requests for sidewalks and stuff that the city would like to get repaired. The greenway stays the same. We have some finishing expenses for that next year once it is finished. MVH Thompson Road project. It's a trail that is going down. That'll be budgeted $108,000. So that went down $74,000. Churchman Perkins roundabout. That went down $8,000 to a total of $113,000. And then the transfer 203 restricted fund, that is going up $111,473. So total MVH budget is going up $99,863 for a total budget of $1,378,713. Couple things there. The MVH vehicles, they also had a lease that was paid off this year. So move that appropriation up to the MVH vehicles appropriation for this year. That way we can kind of stay ahead on making sure that vehicles are replaced when they need to be replaced, and just making sure that we don't fall behind.
Yeah, so again, happy to answer any questions. This one's also funded by the fuel tax, about 80% of this budget. It does cover about half of our full-time employees, so seven DPW employees come out of here. There's some part-time money, but last year, we ran in during COVID to a problem with retaining and finding good part-time people. People just, the unemployment benefits were really high for a while there. So we converted some of that money to full-time so that we could hire an additional full-time person, just because we were having such a hard time filling part-time roles. So it ended up working out good for us. Some fuel comes out of here. A good chunk of the fuel that we use is paid out of MVH. Obviously, gas has gone up some, but I think we're still in a range that it's working for us. We're going to auction off 2 trucks in an auction here in October. One is an 03 Chevy 7500, so a bigger truck, and the other one is an 08 Kenworth that's also a bigger truck. Some of those trucks that are too big really aren't super versatile for our department. We've got a F-550 on order out of this year's budget, and we've included one in this budget as well. Those trucks are a nice size to plow, but you can also gravel alleys and things like that. So we're just basically replacing fleet that's become obsolete with newer trucks. And then we have an old tractor that's an 86 Ford, and we use it for various things. We bush hog the landfill and different things that we do with it. we've got some money in here to upgrade that to a new Kubota tractor. That other one's kind of last leg and needs to be replaced. As Jim mentioned, the sidewalk appropriation's a popular one. I get a lot of calls from people that, and the mayor's done a nice job when he paves roads of addressing bad approaches and sidewalks, but when you're outside those paving limits, you know, sometimes you're just wondering when it's gonna get to you, and this appropriation allows me sometimes to address those needs. Sidewalks get lifted by trees, different things happen, and this appropriation gives me some money to go out, especially the really bad ones, or if there's an ADA complaint, and those are the ones you want to get on immediately. If someone's in a wheelchair and they're struggling to move around the city, you try to help out. And then, as Jim mentioned, the other NDOT projects that are, some of them have closed out, some of them are still hanging around. We've got the roundabout upcoming in a few years, the Greenway Trail is being constructed now. And then Thompson Trail is actually the letting is October 14th, so we'll find out soon what kind of bid we get on that. So we're hoping for something positive and that we get a good contractor. But that's about it. And then that money that goes into the restricted fund is generally used for paving as well, so.
Equipment's in good shape for when the leaves start falling?
Yes, leaf machines are still
Coming to
running well.
October 15th?
Yeah, it's the week of the 15th. I believe it's whatever the day after Columbus Day is, the 12th or the 13th, whatever date that is, but it will run till about mid-December. Yep, ready to go.
Thank you.
So Jim, if I'm reading this right, it's only a 3% increase on salary across the board for the 7?
Correct. Yeah. As with the rest of the other employees, your other city employees, except for a few that you mentioned earlier, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is the continuing education for police. That remains the same at $40,000. Next is parks non-reverting. That is going to be proposed budget at $10,000. So going through, so the city has a cell tower, or the park has a cell tower that we received about $878 a month from that. The funds are kind of built up a little bit over the years, and this appropriation, or this fund was budgeted at $10,000 in 2017, 2018, and 2019 it was bumped up to $20,000, and in 2020 it was bumped up to $50,000. So I'm not sure. I think there was quite a bit of money in that fund. There were some expenses used last year. This year we cut it down to 25, and then based on the recommendations from our financial advisor, with that money come in $878. They recommend budgeting it at $10,000 for that fund, because that's about what we come in from the cell tower rental. So.
Okay.
All right.
That, yeah.
Jim, we'll go back up to the police.
Yeah.
And the chief, sworn up. As with every budget that I've done as mayor, including this one, the focus is on public safety. Police, and now Beech Road. So there's been some major changes in this budget. I want to make sure you're very clear on it. Chief, go ahead.
Do you want, are you gonna do what you've been doing, or you want me to?
No, I'll go through, yep. So, couple things are increasing here. The chief's salary is going up based off the total base pay for the police going up. Regular salaries stayed the same. We're going to take that out of the public safety tax, and we'll go into that one next. Longevity goes up based off of the base of the police salary going up. So that went up $33,500. Overtime is going up based off the increased salaries for the police department. Overtime salaries are going to have to go up as well. So we had to bump that up 20%. Promotions, that went up $9,000. So we had $1,000 budgeted for promotions for the department. We're bumping that up $9,000 to a total of $10,000. Travel expenses, again, as they go to trainings and events around the state and the country, that those expenses continue to rise. So we're bumping that up $5,000. Subscriptions, $800. Copy release, going up $100 is budgeted a little low this year, so we're just going to make that correction, bump it up $100. Professional services going up $10,000. Fuel, just a minimal increase, just to cover the increased cost of fuel. That went up $5,000. FICA, because the increased salaries, FICA and Medicare go up, 3,000 for FICA and 5,000 for Medicare. The rest stay the same, so. Budget increase of $102,458. Total budget out of the general fund for the police department is $3,653,286.
Evening, council. Just to address some of those increases that Jim touched on. The overtime budget does go up 20%, but what a lot of people don't understand is that not only does that cover overtime, but that also covers the shift differential, court pay. We have 2 officers assigned to other divisions that we get reimbursed for that money, but that has to be accounted for in our budget. Both of those are, I think they both, it's around 30 to 32,000 we get reimbursed overtime. So although that number looks like it's going up a lot, it's not all going out to cover shifts. It covers a multitude of expenses that we incur. On the promotions, it's not promotions as in promoting police officers, it's actually promoting the Beech Grove Police Department. And so one of the things that we've talked about internally and that we've met with a couple businesses is a way to get, when we're having a hiring process, to get the right people to apply for us and to us. And so we've met with a few to try to figure out how to do that and how to target certain audiences. And so I've asked for an increase so that we can afford to do that. Travel expense, we did increase it. We have 2, we're about to have a 3rd that have applied for the FBI National Academy, and that will help cover some of their expense getting out there and staying out there, and just other expenses that they may occur. And then we have been very good at, since we're not allowed to give like bonuses, that we let our guys go to trainings that really help the department and move it forward, which is the overall goal of training, and where we're trying to move the police department into being a hub of training. And so we give our instructors a lot of good classes to go to where they're trained by some of the best in the country. Let's see, the professional services. We've really implemented a lot of online services to help us track some stuff in the police department. We do a lot of our online training online, and so that costs money. Lexipol, Guardian Tracking, Police One Academy, and then we're looking at a couple others to help us make sure that we stay on track with some of the requirements that we have to meet federally and locally. The fuel, with us having 38 officers budgeted, if we add 2 more, hopefully out of this process, that's just a little increase. And the other, FICA and Medicare, I don't touch.
How many officers we currently have?
36.
This is kind of this might be as much for the mayor as for you, but one of the things that's bothered me, and it's on the school end, not that our police officers are over there, that's fine, it's the amount the school pays. And when it comes to us handling perf and vehicles and other things that are above the salary, which is split in half, it just seems to me like, how many officers we have working in the school?
Well, yeah, so we have 3, but what we've done with that, and we've given a breakdown of what the officer, so when we send that bill over to the superintendent's office, we have in there what each officer makes. So because they have a supervisor, we have his salary, and we have everything that they get salary-wise is there. Then we also charge a premium for the vehicle, for some of the insurance. Well, it's basically what the city pays that officer for the year, and then we ask for 70% of that.
Okay.
So it's not 50%, and it doesn't just cover the salary. It covers fuel, vehicle usage. Because Officer Parker has the K-9, we have a little bit more for the K-9. And that's based off of the fact that school isn't in session over the summer, generally, but we are in negotiations with the school because we did have one officer there that was there all summer for in-home visits and summer school. So we are in negotiations with the school to kind of maybe increase that, which will then allow us to bring another officer on to help fill that, but.
That's right where I'm hoping what you'd say, so
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, so that, it is being talked about. Yeah, we understand that we give up 3 officers and there's a lot we could do with them on the road, but we understand the importance of having them in the school.
I think the main thing is how much money we get out of the schools. Having them involved there and still part of the department's a good thing. It's just making sure the school is going to pay their, I mean, they have a pretty good budget, and make sure they pay for their amount for us, because like you said, it can help with salaries and help with additional officers, you know, so.
So buddy, on that as well, so if you guys go to the next page, it's the police, community, school policing, that's home rule number 8. This was budgeted for back in 15 and 16 and 17, and then the budget line item fell off. So looking at the fund and all that, so this year we received approximately $232,000 from the schools. So we send them a bill, one in January and one in July, for half the amount. And that was the agreed to amount for this year, about $232. Receive the money, put it in the fund for that, and then we pay those salaries out of payroll until the fund basically washes out, and then it's moved over to the salary. So this year we're looking at budgeting $260,000 based off the increased salaries for the police, and then getting the 3 officers at 70%. That's where we're estimating about $260,000 for those 3 officers there. So not only like the chief said, it covers their salary, but also all the other ones as well. And that's kind of what when I talked to Dr. Hammock as well, is that there's a lot of costs that aren't included in that number. So just letting them know that there's a lot of fees, you know, telephone wise, technology wise, car wise, maintenance, all that stuff that an officer needs for that position. So trying to get that closer to the number where it should be.
Right,
They're
it's
very
certainly
open.
improved over the years
It
that
is.
way,
Yeah.
and because I'm only looking at it from the fact of what we don't get
Yep.
takes away from all the police
Absolutely.
department, and I think everybody agrees with that, so.
And she understands that. So I think that the school board understands that, it needs to be worked on a little bit, and that's what we're working on now.
Yeah,
So
sounds
but We're
great.
getting much better.
Okay,
Yes,
sounds
sir.
good, thank you.
Chief, when an officer works a basketball game at the high school or the football game, do
School
you guys
pays
pay
for
them? School pays them direct?
It's a part-time, and they're 1099 at the end of the year.
Okay.
Yep, so that's all through the school.
Okay.
You need to get a badge, you're over there already, so.
No, not that.
Also, they pay for the crossing.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, the crossing, I just didn't know how that works.
That's, I mean, and maybe I shouldn't, I mean, I think most people know that, so yes, my budget went up, but I've also taken on more employees with compliance. And I assume that once the fire department's gone, well, I'm pretty sure that Mark Grimm is probably gonna come
That's
over.
factored in the budget
Yeah.
as well.
Right, will be coming
That is
over
in
as
your
well.
set,
So
yeah.
although that bottom number looks like it's a lot, we do have quite a lot of city employees. I'd say at least half for sure now that fall underneath the police department. So,
One of the other things is, I believe in first year, second year, we compete with pretty well. Let's make sure I'm right on that. It's the third year that we become a little less competitive.
well, I will wait until the salary ordinance is brought before you.
Okay.
And I will be glad to come up here and speak on that once the mayor presents that. But I think that the plan that will be laid out and what was shared tonight is a very, very good start and a very good plan moving forward for our officers and to become a lot more competitive in attracting the talent that we want at the police department.
Sounds good.
Just a quick comment or just a note, I guess, with the future of the police department, when we get our new building, some of these away trainings are hopeful to be for our site, so that that'll have a play on how the budgets will look in the future, correct? That'll be to our benefit.
Correct. Yes. That 40,000 that's budgeted in that law enforcement, most people, the public, maybe you don't know that we require a minimum of 40 hours of new training for officers, which really isn't even true anymore. I could bump that up to 80 probably, and we would match that. We've done some new training, and it's basically mandatory that, well, it is mandatory that they attend, and that gives them a base of 48. And then I push out 16 hours of mandatory state level training that we have to have per year, which includes firearms, EVOC, bloodborne pathogens, human trafficking, implicit bias, racial profiling, all those. And so that's another 16. And then we do quarterly, well, it's been tough this year to do quarterly firearms because we can't get ammo. We ordered ammo back in November of 2020, and we're told we'd get it in March, and now we're told that we won't get it until March of 2022. So we've had to use that sparingly. We do have quarterly firearms training, which is another 8 hours, 8 to 16 hours per, and then we also send guys out. So we get a lot of training, but that's the goal, is to make that new police department a hub for training and bring in those national instructors to use our facilities.
And then you got the K-9, so all that, yeah, so, a lot. Thank you.
There's a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Chief, I'll call you back up when we get to the salary.
Yeah, you get to come back up, so.
I'll go.
EMS now, Mayor? EMS? Rob? So EMS is, it's a 100% increase, because we didn't quite budget for that this year, so, I'll let Chief Cheshire kind of explain this. So, we're looking at an estimated, budget for the Beech Grove EMS division to be $837,400. A lot of these numbers here will stay the same, like if you see EMS contractual, that's what we budget for currently this year, out of the fire budget, so that one stayed the same, just, retitled EMS. But other than that, capital outlays, that type of stuff, I'll let Rob, Chief, if you want to kind of go through these numbers here. I think some of them are a very good faith estimate for what they will be for this new department, for next year, based on, with the fire department, all that, but I'll let you kind of go into that, so.
Okay, Mayor and Council, thank you. As you know, some of the most expensive parts of the EMS system are your personnel, your apparatus, your facilities. We're starting off very well because we already have this base in place. When we take a look at this budget for EMS, what we did was try to divide up the stations and forecast the expense for that single station. We are very fortunate that we have partnered with Franciscan Health for staffing. So that takes a bulk of the budget for personnel. We are also hiring some of our own civilian paramedics and EMTs, also part-time. The problem we've seen this year is Franciscan has had a difficult time providing the staffing we need to keep our ambulances out on the streets and staffed. This is not an uncommon problem for us or anyone else in the metro area and across the United States. COVID has really taken a toll on the EMS workers. A lot of our Franciscan help that comes to us, they have full-time jobs elsewhere. So they're working full-time elsewhere, working part-time here, and we've seen up to a third, probably about a third of the month where Medic 56 was not staffed in August, just because Franciscan didn't have the employees to work. So that, that was kind of unexpected. What that did to our numbers, we made 440 ambulance runs in August without that vehicle staffed about a third of the time. So that's a lot of ambulance runs. We did 290 transports in August. So those transports are still coming in, they're still up. Those are pretty high numbers. So far this year, we've done roughly about 3,200 EMS runs. So we are still on track to do about 4,800 ambulance runs for the year. That is a lot of runs. Part of this budget is with EMS supplies, equipment. We're very fortunate here in Beech Grove. We have some excellent equipment. Boardworks and this council has worked very hard to help get a replacement program for our ambulances. To give you a quick update, we went through this process about this time last year, approached the board for approval to purchase a new ambulance, and we were able to order that ambulance. We had difficulties with the chassis, the microchips. We've been involved in this whole quagmire mess trying to get a chassis for this truck. We're very fortunate that our specification for our ambulance focused on safety, and Road Rescue will be placing our ambulance next year at FDIC, the conference, as a show truck. So our chassis was actually bumped up in line, so our ambulance would be used as a demo FDIC as a show truck, which is very great. We're very proud of that, to have, the best equipment out there in safety and EMS delivery for other departments across the nation to come and see. With that, we received approval last night to purchase another ambulance. The reason we brought this up to the board is right now they anticipate over a year for delivery on new ambulance. So we might not see this new ambulance for over a year from now. This hurts us operationally. Currently, Medic 57, it has close to 90,000 miles. Medic 56, it's bumping up about 136,000 miles. Those trucks get used, they take a lot of wear and tear, and we don't want to have those trucks out of service for maintenance. We do a very good job with preventive maintenance, and that has been included in this budget. We always make sure that those trucks are PM'd, engines, oil changed. Depending on the mileage, sometimes it seems like every other month they might go in for a PM, but we're not having the mechanical breakdowns because Fire Service Inc., our vendor, that goes, they put the trucks up on lift, they go through them. We replace our brakes, we take care of the tires, and we PM these trucks very good because we get very good use out of them. So that's all included in the budget. There's other items in here. You see injury prevention. Being just focused on EMS, we want to make sure we deliver that EMS product to the community. Make sure we're involved in community-based EMS, stay involved with the senior citizens, and go out and do our job with community paramedicine, and be a focal point of the community to provide this good service for our citizens. We have a great foundation in EMS, and very proud of our fire-based EMS that you all have helped support it over numerous years to make it one of the best in the counties. Besides that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have over this EMS budget. If there's anything I can explain to you tonight, I'll be glad to do so. Everyone's always welcome. Give me a call. I'll get you through the firehouse. Our EMS station will be 1202 Albany. All of our medic trucks will be stationed out of that station. We have worked very hard, Chief Pierce, and to get MECA involved in the CAD so we can split our trucks up in response district. There's a need on the south side for EMS services, and we have helped fill the gap. I have a lot of questions, people ask about IEMS and, is your truck out of the city? Yes, our trucks, they do go out of the city, but IEMS also comes in the city. It's mutual aid, just like on the fire side, you see, we work together. IEMS, they're a great department. Chief Dan McDonald, he's an excellent guy, but he's been faced with staffing issues also. They're running short. They're affected by COVID and personnel, and our truck we get called outside the city. It's just part of providing that service. So yes, that is true, but Beech Grove is our #1 priority, and we look to expand our service, our revenue. I'm proud to say that, we're still on track for our EMS revenue to be over what our budget is for 2022. So that's always a positive. We're not in it to make money. We're in it to provide a service, but it's nice when you see those numbers go together. I've spoken to the clerk. In the future, we like to do a non-reverting fund to help purchase some major equipment in the future, life packs, ambulances, the ambulance cots. Those are expensive, high-ticket items. If we can do this in a way where we don't burden the taxpayers with these high costs, I think that's the way to go. With your help and the clerk, treasurer, and mayor, I think we can achieve excellent service to the citizens and keep it cost effective. If you have any questions, please.
With the fire department gone at the end of the year, is there any plans to update that building for the EM staff there?
Well, we're looking at possibly replacing the roof on that building in the future. I think with the EMS personnel, we have less number of personnel in the building, which is a positive. Right now, any day you can have up to 8 to 9 people in the building, and now we're going to decrease those numbers significantly, which is good, very good. So.
This is unrelated to the budget, maybe. What will be the supervision of the EMS?
I'm going to stay on Beech Grove to be the EMS director over the side. Chief Pierce is going to work part-time, help keeping some book records and some of the technology side. I'm keeping that up to date part-time as part-time admin when I'm not here unavailable. And we're really looking forward to this transition. It's really exciting because we're the only municipality here in Marion County that will be providing its own EMS service that's not a county-based service or a fire-based service. So this is kind of new in the area, and we're looking forward to it.
If I could just have you address, when you say you made 290 transports, and I know firsthand that hospitals are on diversion for shortages all over the time, everywhere, all the time. So with 290 transports, you talk about going outside of Beech Grove, you don't know when a hospital's on diversion. So you're tracking patients to hospital networks all over the county because the diversion issue is constant. That's taking more time, more wear and tear, and it really is an issue, and it puts a burden on.
It is an issue. Luckily, we have software in our ambulances that shows us who's on diversion. And the hardest part for us is explain to family why we can't transport them to their hospital of choice.
Yeah.
When one hospital goes on diversion, it seems like all the hospitals go on diversion. So we try really make sure that, the patients we transport with heart issues, their heart doctor is at Franciscan Health. We make sure we try to get that patient to their hospital and their doctor, so we don't run into any snags down the road or incur any costs on that patient that might be transported for a second time to go to their local home hospital.
Right.
Chief, what kind of communications goes into when you see all hospitals on diversion, especially like the police have an emergency detention, and you're kind of stuck as the ambulance make a lot of these choices? I mean, immediate detention might even be made.
It's difficult because we do have our protocols to follow, and when they all go on diversion, we're transporting to a hospital, and the nurses are asking us, they're giving our crews, why are you here? We're on diversion. And they have to explain and be tactful about that the other hospitals are on diversion too. And those nurses don't know it, but it's like that countywide. It's really placed a lot of stress on the EMS provider because they're just going out trying to take care of patients, take care of people, get them to the hospital, and then get that little blowback once they arrive. It's difficult on them because it makes them feel like they failed their patient.
That's why I brought up the ID, because usually psych is one of the first things to
Absolutely,
get it going.
it is. ID and psych patients Those hospitals that take those patients go on diversion, and it's difficult to find a hospital who will take them, which could be, it has led to longer transport times outside the normal service area, transporting up north to St. V's. St. V's Carmel, we've transported. So it's just, it's a new game. It's very difficult. And then with all the road construction, it's difficult to get our crews back here, home base in Beech Grove. And that's one of the reasons why you see IMS in more often, because our ambulances are out doing these longer transports.
And I just have one comment, and it's not related to numbers again, but it's a good thing that you and Jim Pierce involved. You'll make the transition, knowing things, a lot easier. So I'm glad you guys are sticking around.
Thank you. That is greatly appreciated.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next is the public safety. Public safety tax, the police perf, that stays the same. Overtime, again, as mentioned earlier, it's going up $20,000. The air packs, that changed a little bit based off of the principal and interest. Thought it'd go up $1,661. The principal goes up and the interest goes down $1,700. Police salaries, so the increases for police salary will be coming out of that, so that budget line increases $390,000. Ambulance, as Chief Cheshire mentioned earlier, we are looking at getting it, we are getting 2 new ambulances sometime soon, hopefully. So next year we have budgeted 2 leases for that. So again, this year we budgeted for 1. We haven't gotten that 1 yet for this year, but next year we're looking at increasing that to 2. So bump that up to $110,000. And interest for those 2 ambulances, for when we do receive those, that went up, that doubled, went up $7,000. Fire sick day buyback, we do have 1 employee who is retiring, that we owe them the sick time vacation pay for their service here to the city. That is going down a little bit based off this number, so that went down $22,000 for a budget of $43,000. Police sick day buyback, we do have a couple officers who are planning on retiring in '22, so that is budgeting at $100,000. Black safety is budgeted at $20,000. Police vehicles, we're looking to, again, to stay on top of replacing the vehicles when they do reach the end of their service, bumping that up to $200,000 for next year. And then public safety for death benefits for the fire. So this was paid out of the pension fund, but for the retirees from the 37 fund, when they retired, they expected a death benefit when that time came. So we're still abiding by that, and we'll budget that out of the public safety tax this year, since it won't be a fire budget for next year. Total increase in the public safety tax with the new appropriation is $789,961 for a total budget of $2,128,161 for the public safety tax.
So we're getting the entire public safety tax percent to the interlocals, because we're losing fire, we
Correct.
still get the 100%.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and the thing I don't like about this report is it says a budget increase of 780, which isn't really true, because we added some line items there and got rid of some line items. But technically, if you look at that first sheet that I gave you, last year versus this year, public safety in '21 was budgeted at $1,993,200, and this year it goes up to $2,128,161. Again, based on the estimates, we're seeing an increase there, so we're budgeting all that money there. So, yeah. So in a nutshell, that is your budget there. So that gives you a total budget of $15,705,179. The budget, and now we go into the salary ordinance for 2022. Mayor, kick that off.
Get one, Jim?
Yes, sir. So as I mentioned earlier, I've gone over this thing a million times over the last 3 months, and yesterday I realized a couple of them that were not calculated correctly. So you have the updated version in front of you. Again, that's why it was stamped draft, and I sent you in that packet last week. So again, go off the one that I sent you today as of September 21st, 21.
On the first page, the mayor's office, the only change would be 3% for the mayor's assistant. The mayor's salary from the Civil City Corporation and Sewage Works does not change, no raise. In the clerk treasurer's office, the no raise for the Civil City Corporation or from Sewage Works for the clerk. The administrative assistant / HR clerk, 3% increase. Deputy clerk treasurer. This is a increase from $40,482 to $49,377.21. You may say, whoa, that's way too much. But my thoughts on it are, we have several very professional females who work here every day in different departments. Some of them heads these departments. And now, with these new calculations, all of them will make the same amount of money. The deputy clerk treasurer works hard every single day. And it's important that the clerk, whoever the clerk is, has a good deputy clerk to help him or her. So this is what is proposed. And the same way, the next line is the billing clerk. And that's person is exclusively in Sewage Works. That salary goes up from $34,460 to $40,185. That too, in this case, is a very professional female who does good work and comes to work every single day. And Jim can attest to this because they report to Jim. Jim, any thoughts on
Yeah,
it?
no, I agree with you 100%. My deputy clerk, Angie, she was here when I took office. She's done a great job. She's been here for a few years. And she processes all the claims and the payroll and deals with the department heads every day. And she does a great job. And then the billing clerk as well. That's Ruth. So she is over there on the sewer side. She's a new employee this year, and she's done a phenomenal job. She started in July. So, yeah, so kind of gotten rid of some of the part-time staff over there and replaced them with a full-time. So she's been great over there, and she's learned it. She's learned the system in and out with billing and all that. So she works great with Linda, and those two individuals do a great job. And I think we need to pay them respectively. So.
And the part-time for any assistant clerk, part-time, goes up 3% as well. All of our part-time employees next year will make more, they can be paid more than $15 per hour.
How many billing clerks are there?
Two. So there's Linda and Ruth.
Are they both full-time?
Yes.
Correct.
Because before we only had one, right?
Yeah, so
Yes.
we came to the thing is if the billing clerk was gone, then we'd have a problem getting out billing, so we needed to get somebody in to train them. Basically Linda's job, so that way if she is out sick or just not here, then we can have somebody continue to process and keep it going.
Only
If you go
comment,
through, if you look at, we're good to NVH and sewage on the next page, billing clerk there, that's Linda, the 49,377.21.
a comment on this real quickly,
Right there.
Jim or the mayor, is that I have no problems with the amount of money, or I have no problems with the employees out here. They do a great job. But sometimes I think we've got to be careful that these aren't employees that we're raising. We're just raising the titles themselves, right? I mean, whether it's Jim, the clerk treasurer, or Jim Smith,
Yes.
it's not whether, so I just
Correct,
kind of
yeah.
wanted to
Absolutely.
bring up that
For
point.
sure, yeah, so that can be, they just can't be paid more than that, whoever it
Right.
is. So, in that case, if somebody starts out in a couple years in that position, then they don't have to start out that, but the salary ordinance says you just can't pay them more than that. So, yeah, absolutely, it just kind of keeps that position.
On page 2, board members, no increase. Crossing guards, no increase.
council members, no increase. The Director of Public Works, 3%. The billing clerk for sewage, for MVH Sewage Works is 49,377.21. That's a 3% increase, and that's the same exact number as the deputy clerk for treasurer. All part-time up to 1505, 3%. Sanitary stormwater supervisor, that is a 3% raise, increase. If you have a CDL license and work at DPW, you receive an additional $250 from last year. Last year it was $1,250. This year it goes up to $1,500. The MVH part-time goes 3%. The street commissioner goes 3%. And council, this is a new category for DPW. It's COVID hazard pay. $1,000. You have to be a full-time employee. Those men out there, during this COVID, they couldn't stay home. They had to come to work every day. And the exposure of COVID in trash and the wastewater system is extreme. And these guys work through it for they're into their 18th month now, and it's still out there. So I think it would be good if we, as a city, recognize these men for what they've done out there. So I added that into the salary just for DPW. The mechanic, 3%. Commercial driver, 3%. Lead laborer, 3%. Laborer third year, 3%. Laborer second year, 3%. Probationary labor, 3%. Parks director, 3%. Parks department part-time up to $15.05 an hour, that's 3%. The development director for the community center, Angel, her salary goes from $40,482. I recommend it goes up to $49,377.21. Those folks out there were also affected by the last 18 months, and they worked very hard. And the community center has grown, and so I think this, as a professional female, I think this is well-deserved. And we'll go down to the office manager, 3% increase. Hornet Park general staff, 3% increase, up to $15.05 per hour. The senior citizen center, the community service coordinator, the director. Last year she made $41,134. This goes up. This is recommended to go up to $49,377.21. That's the same base salary as other female department heads. Transportation coordinator goes up from $31,687 to $37,080. Those two females worked very hard for the past 18 months, taking people, doctor's appointments, taking people to get tested for COVID, to get vaccinations. They also established a food pantry. So I think they deserve more compensation as well. I'll skip EMS for now, and I'll skip police, the police officer, and go to 2 more pages back to the police, civilian, general staff. Office manager, $52,729, that's 3% raise. Animal control, 3% raise. Receptionist, 3% raise. Part-time employees at the police department, 3% increase. IDAX coordinator, 3% increase. Compliance positions, 3% increase. And in the city court, the judge is recommended not to to get an increase. The court clerk, full-time, 3% increase. Court part-time clerk, 3% increase. And then at the bottom, longevity. This year, it's $154. We propose next year it go up to $183 per year of longevity. Employees of the Department of Public Works, clothing allotment pay go from $250 to $500 per year. Members of the police department who are on the SRT team, their pay increases to $1,500. Officers assigned to the investigation division, their position pay increases to $2,000. And as stated earlier, the commercial driver's license goes up from $1,250 to $1,500. That's everybody, council, except the police and fire, or police and EMS.
Hey, Mayor, on the COVID increase for COVID pay, will there be a stop date on that depending on the pandemic? So that's,
That's a good question. I would say no now. That just applies to full-time employees.
right. But, right, so it's not, and that, okay, because that could be changed from year to year, so, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes into effect the first paycheck of January? Is that?
Should the
if-
council
if- Should the council approve it, yes, thank you, sir, sorry. Thank you, sir.
Ryan.
That's all right.
Throughout the year, I've listened to what you folks have said and took it to heart. Ryan, I know you're relatively new, but Bobby and Kara and Liz and Dave has all expressed an interest in increasing the salaries of the police officer. Kevin and Buddy were emphatic about it, and I agree with every one of you. It just depends on how much and what can we afford to do. So what I came up with, council, is, and you'll have to work with us because this is over 3 years, not just next year, for the next 3 years. The current column is what we are paying them right now. We are paying a probationary officer $56,654, a second-year officer $63,700, third-year officer $68,500. And as Buddy said earlier, we do pretty good the first 2 years, but we fall off year 3. All right, what I propose that we do next year for the police officer is to take the probationary year up to $62,452. That's an increase of about $5,000. And we take the second year up to $68,111, and third year up to $73,055. The clothing allowance goes to $1,000. The field training officer goes to $1,300. Detective goes to $2,000. Special response team goes to $1,500. And with the exception of the trail, they're going to reestablish a bicycle patrol. So we will compensate these officers who decide to get on a bike. One of the complaints, it's not a complaint, one of the concerns with the police department was middle shift and the supervisory positions. I'll let the chief talk about that. But if you go down to the final section, in 2021, our current longevity is 154. It goes to 183. Sergeant is compensated at $3,500. It goes to $5,000. Lieutenant is compensated at $5,000, next year it goes to $10,000. Captain is $7,000, goes to $15,000. Major is $11,000, goes to $20,000. Deputy Chief is $18,500, goes to $25,000. The Chief is $23,500, and it goes to $30,000. You might say, or the public might think, this is excessive. However, we have to be competitive. You guys have won half the battle. You approved the new station, and that's going to happen. That will improve the identity of our police department. This will help retain and recruit police officers. So in '23, the probationary officer would go up to 67.4. Second year would go to 73.1. Third year would go to 78,055. And then the position pays would increase in increments of $2,500. And then in 2024, the final year of this investment, the probationary police officer would be 72.4. The second year would be 78,111. The third year base salary for a police officer would be $83,055. I met with the council president pro tem, and he thinks that, and I'm not going to speak for Bobby, but he thinks that puts us at the same with IMPD.
Okay.
So this is what I propose that we do over the next 3 years to enhance our police department. I'm going to turn it over to the chief, and I'd like to hear from an officer or two if they want to come up and speak.
Mayor, so
Yeah.
this is 16.5% over 3 years, is that correct?
Beg pardon?
16.5% over 3 years? Is that correct?
I haven't figured it out, Kevin.
I think it's Matt's right. And also, it's under our control, because it's within the budgets we would approve over these, right? So,
I know we said 15 to 18, that's pretty close. So.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear from these folks.
that's why I asked you to be patient until he presented the salary ordinance. I'll speak primarily on the supervisor increase. I probably went to the mayor and Jim probably right when they got in and said, hey, we've got to do something about the supervisor pay. They told me to be patient and to wait. And so each year I've said, hey, we got to do something about the supervisor pay. And part of that is not only do the citizens require more from our supervisors, but we also do too. And so there's a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility that these guys take on a daily basis. And the responsibility and just the hazards and the, if anything goes wrong, it falls on their shoulders. And so we have a lot of good officers who say, you're crazy, I'm not taking that promotion for that amount of money. And so we miss out on some officers putting in for promotion that we would like to see put in for it. We have very good supervisors, and I am very happy with the ones that we have promoted. I am not. But there are individuals that once they hit a certain point, the increase from sergeant to lieutenant, and when you take on that lieutenant role, you become shift supervisor more and more responsive. You take on more responsibility. People aren't putting in for it. And so this step process will, I feel like, will at least incentivize it enough to get more people to put in for it, where they'll say, okay, when Tom Egan retires, I'd be glad to step in and take over middle shift.
He's not retired yet? I'll go ahead.
That's not technically. So I feel like that will help a lot. It will also, it just allows us to be able, I know it looks like there's a lot, and I understand that, but it also puts us where, I base these numbers off of another local department, Speedway. This is what they pay their supervisors. This is not what Lawrence pays theirs, Lawrence pays more. And so this just gets us at the, what Speedway's level is. As far as the salary, that increase will get us in 3 years to what IMPD will be making, I believe, in 2022. So we've never said that we should make, we'd love to make what IMPD makes. We know that they're busy, but the type of runs that our officers are dealing with on a daily basis and the type of people that they're running into is on par with what an IMPD officer is also dealing with. And so to pay them like that, it's what should be done. And so looking at these numbers, it's very encouraging to know that with some of the other stuff that we're implementing, we should be able to draw on. Because not only is it pay, but then my staff, command staff, we have to create an environment that is also attractive to them as well. And so this is just part of it, but this will help, especially with the new building and the new emphasis on making it a hub for training.
Okay. I'm not sure what I'm going to say that the chief and the mayor haven't already, but I'll speak to you as a newer officer on the department and as a NFOP union rep. This increase will allow us to stay competitive with the other departments in this county, which is something that I think we really need to do. When I started law enforcement several years ago, it would have been common for a department this size to see hundreds of applicants. We just had 9 show up to our written test. People aren't coming into law enforcement like they used to, and we need to find many ways to entice them to do so, and especially the people that we want that are qualified to be here. Increasing in this way, like the chief said, is what Speedway is doing. Lawrence is doing it. In working for the Beech Grove Police Department, I think we have some of the best officers I've seen, and they deserve to be making a comparable wage to everyone else in the county. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, I got a question. What's the base pay? Is it based off a probationary officer or a third-year officer?
Pension base,
Yes,
3rd year.
third year, okay.
Based off the 3rd year and 20 years of longevity. I'll take any hard question. Yeah.
So you have, you're looking to fill 2 more officers' positions, is that correct? Or how many?
Okay, we are budgeted for 38. We have 36. We have not hired because we wanted to see what the numbers would
Yes.
be, because I did not want to hire and then have to lay off.
Right, right.
Now that we see the numbers, we've waited long enough, we're okay to go ahead and proceed. We are down to 4 applicants from that 9 that showed up. And we'll see how that goes, because the next phase is the polygraph, which we tend to lose 60 to 75%, which would leave us 1.
I've heard that is a difficult,
Well, it's really not difficult,
I know.
because we tell you, just don't lie. If you're not deceptive, you're gonna pass, and we can work with you with anything. So just don't be deceptive, and then you'll get through it. And so with that, so we have 2 to fill this year, 2 to fill mid-year next year, so that's 4 new hires. And then we have minimum in 2023, I have 2 to 3 more officers that are contemplating retiring. 1 for sure, because he's in the drop program, so I know he's leaving in 2023. And so you're looking at possibly 6 to 7 new officers over the next 3 years.
and that could
So
make
this will help.
that will make a big difference if we don't, we owe it to, we owe it to.
Correct. It will help.
citizens and public.
Because I know that we say this a lot, and I don't know, but we are seriously competing with Hamilton County. And it's not all about pay, right? And I'm not gonna try to get political, but it also has a lot to do with the criminal justice system in Marion County. And so if we can create an environment that is a good environment to work in and then pay those officers, then I believe that we can get the officers we've hired the past year, Kelsey Gambala, Raniera Camilla, De La Rosa, they're all here tonight, right? They've been very good for our department, and so I know that we can continue to get those. It's just, I would like a big pool because I know I have 7 to hire soon.
I have a new, for the new officer, what is something that, working in Beech Grove, before you came on, that was kind of a surprise? Is that a fair question? Something that you maybe didn't expect working for the department, or? Now you can lie. I know you're already on. So.
No. I actually came from a fairly large department in Illinois. We had about 300 officers. And what I didn't expect was to come to a small department and have a higher quality of officer. You know, I guess I didn't expect to feel like everyone I worked with was so much better than what I had experienced in the past. And I think that speaks to the department, the council, the community. There are several reasons people would come to be an officer here. We just have to find a way to reach those people and get them to see those reasons. Because I like being able to say that I love working with the guys and girls that I do, and that I feel like I would go into battle with every one of them each and every day. So that was surprising to me, that each and every one I work with, I feel like, is a really high-quality officer.
Thank you.
What was your deciding factor for coming?
I'm sorry?
What was your deciding factor for coming to this department?
Coming from a larger department, I knew I wanted to work somewhere where I could feel like I was part of the community, where I would get a chance to know who I was working for, and get a chance to feel like I was actually getting to give back and to do my job, because that's what I signed up to do to begin with. So
community development, basically.
I'm sorry?
Community development, being involved.
Absolutely.
But we're glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too.
Mayor, you made a comment about, depending on where you come from, whether high, low, indifferent, or whatever. But one of the things, and just throughout talking to people in the community, I don't think we have to sell. I mean, police, fire included, it doesn't matter how big or small you are, you're faced with whatever the incident is. It could be and that doesn't change no matter where you live. People have issues, they have fires, they have problems, they have heart attacks, they have all the things. And I don't know, but I think my life and my neighbor's life is just as important a life in any other community. And I think people Beech Grove that I've talked to, I don't think they'll have a problem the hardest we try to make public safety the best. I think it's going to be an easy sell. So I'm not going to vote for it, but I think it'll be an easy sell for it.
All right, the last one, council, is the EMS, Beech Grove EMS, which is on page 4. And this is all new. The department head base salary is we suggested be $52,500. Then he would receive the EMS position pay of $30,000. That's the same as the police chief. The part-time administration, which is Jim Pierce, would be paid $32 per hour. The first-year paramedic would be paid $70,000. The second year would be paid $72,500. The third-year paramedic would be paid $75,000. And if we hire a emergency medical technician full-time, they would start out at 60,000. Keep in mind, there's only 3 or 4 of these people that we would hire. So we're not staffing a department of 36 or 38. This is, and I'll have the chief come up and talk about this. There's very few people that we would hire full-time. The part-time paramedic would make $24 per hour. The part-time emergency medical technician would make $18 per hour. And if you are a full-time employee as an EMT, you would make $1,250 additional dollars for cert pay. If you were a state-certified paramedic, you would receive $1,250 as an EMT, and then $2,500 additional dollars as a state-certified paramedic. So I want to defer to the chief and talk a little bit about the philosophy behind this, Rob. And we have the same, and he'll tell you, the same problem in EMS as we do in law enforcement.
Mayor?
Yes?
I got a quick question before he gets that. Rob and the deputy chief are staying on. What happens, since they were on the fire department, what happens to their, like when Rob retires? He gets so many sick days he didn't use or what, vacation. What happens to all that? Does that go into this?
He's retiring. He can explain it better than I can.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Dave. I'm going to retire from the fire service. I'm going to stay here as the EMS director for Beech Grove Fire.
So
for
at the end of the year,
EMS.
you would get whatever's.
Yes, from the fire,
supposed to-
yes.
Okay.
And basically, like, start off as a new employee for the city of Beech Grove.
Okay.
And with that, one of the reasons we need the part-time personnel that you see on the sheet is to help backfill for vacation time, people calling sick. We used to be able to draw on the firefighters at times to cover these positions on the ambulances when we had Franciscan EMT was not here. We have a Beech Grove civilian paramedic working. We just can't tell our own employee to go home. So we would have a firefighter come over and drive for our civilian medic. That was always the last resort because we didn't like taking those firefighters off that engine. But now we need some personnel to pull from when Franciscan cannot cover that EMS paramedic or driver. So that's why we're hiring some of the part-time personnel.
Okay.
And that's very beneficial to us. They will all go through the same training. They will be affiliated through Franciscan Health. So if they work an affiliation process with Franciscan that our current employees do also. All of our employees are trained advanced cardiac life support, the pediatric advanced life support, our PALS, PHTLS. We're going to keep our ninth brain, our EMS education. We're going to utilize this opportunity to help lead an EMS and help be a training hub and help with the Franciscan EMS education, providing the resources needed for their paramedic students and EMT students to come right out. It's going to be very beneficial for them because we are a standalone EMS station. So it's going to be mutually beneficial to not only our employees on the educational aspect, but for their students also.
Chief, can you talk a little bit about how competitive it is and to hire, trying to get paramedics to come over?
It is very competitive. We are competing against the other counties. Just like police chief stated, I've told you guys before on the fire side, we're competing with other counties, your Hamilton counties, Johnson County, Hendricks County, for good quality personnel. There is such a need for paramedics in the state of Indiana right now. We are competing with all kinds of different departments. with different incentives. IEMS just raised, gave their employees, I believe it was like a 13 to 15% raise, and they're just trying to stay competitive. We benefit from having the St. Francis program because we have these EMT and paramedic students here working at Beech Grove, come to our stations. We have the SAGE program where they're a paramedic student, but they're working at Beech Grove, driving our ambulance on their days off, getting that experience. So we have good employees that come through Beech Grove, familiar with our system, know what our operation is, and those are the employees we focus on working part-time here and full-time. Two of our last paramedics, one we just hired full-time, Chase Solomon and Reagan, they were both St. Francis students, came, rode out Beech Grove, loved it here, loved our operation and what we had to provide, and now they're both full-time employees. So we're beneficial to have the Franciscan program partnered with us because we get to, get these new employees kind of while they're fresh, just getting started, and, we treat them right and they don't want to leave. So that's a good for us. Very, very good. Very positive.
Will this increase in salaries help?
It will definitely help. It's going to help us retain our good employees. When we take a look at what some of the other fire-based EMS systems are paying, it'll put us very competitive with them. I think that we will have more to offer because we are smaller, and that's good to have a smaller based EMS system like we will have. Plus those employees, they don't have the competitiveness with the fire side, believe it or not. It's very good to have your own standalone system. So we're going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the positive aspects of it. We're going to focus on the pay, the good equipment, and the support we have here from the community and the council, and keep and retain our good personnel.
So as far as benefits for like retirement benefits and health, that's all Franciscan based? They cover those as far as, is that?
For us, our employees, our civilian employees are Beech Grove employees that work for us. They work for Franciscan, but it's totally separate.
If somebody wants to make a career path change, then I know as far as the education, the programs and everything, if they're still having for financial purposes, they have to maintain a wages to pay what they need and for household income, and then they could try to manage. I know it would be like somebody working full time and going to nursing school, but sounds like they're making allowances to help people transition, to maintain their what income they need while they move to this career path.
Yes, this definitely helps. These part-time wages will definitely help us pull in good employees. And I've just today received a call from EMT who worked part-time for Franciscan before. We're well familiar with him, but he'll make more here part-time than he will at his other part-time job that he works. Okay. So it's good to hear the stories, and it's good to know that you can help people out where they can come, work, make a decent wage, support their family, and they know that they're cared for while they're here. We take care of our employees, and like I said, we provide them with good facilities, good equipment, and treat people right, and they come back.
Thank you.
Chief, of the paramedics we have currently, how many of them are like third year?
Right now, just one is full, been here for 3 years. Okay. Well, actually, she's coming up on her 10th year here at Beech Grove. Reagan and Chase are just, right now, they're first year.
First year.
Adrian will be first year also.
Okay. And how many do we want to have altogether?
I would eventually like to see 6 full-time employees for Beech Grove, the other part-time. And that's just a budget process, working with the clerk and seeing how things progress.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes everything, Councilman. I do want to invite the clerk has worked very closely with Jeff Peters. I have not. So, Jim, Jeff was invited to attend tonight, he couldn't. He'll be here on October 4th.
Correct.
To talk. I know you don't want to speak for him, but his thoughts on this budget.
Yeah, so he's good with this budget. So I've worked with him a lot over the last couple of months. So he thinks this budget is well funded and that the revenues will support this budget for next year. So he's happy with those numbers. Again, he couldn't be here today, but they will plan on being here when the budget is read on first reading on October 4th here at 7 o'clock here in the chambers. So, but yeah, so he'll go into more depth about this and the funds, and a lot of this was based off of his recommendations, based off revenues and tax AP values and all that for next year. So SS values. So, but yeah, so he is good with this number. He thinks it's a funded budget, and he's happy with it, and it's a good point for 2022. So
Great.
yeah. So
Any other questions from the council?
I just have a comment, and I'll stick to the police one just for a minute. The EMS is the same way of trying to get salaries up to keep people here working. Our citizens in Beech Grove deserve that. I've liked with you and the chief and Jim and whoever's worked with the police that sees some kind of growth pattern there as we move forward, because these are the people we live among, and these are people going to protect us. So I just appreciate the hard work. I was really glad to at least see those type of numbers. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
No other questions? We're finished. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, everybody.